Good morning and welcome into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9, 1230 a.m. WTBC. We're live, local, and ready to get things rolling right here on your home for Alabama sports. It is a beautiful Friday morning, so that means it's a free for all Friday. Free for all Friday, and we're live, local, and ready to get it going. I want to invite you to join us on the Facebook stream. Over, give us your thoughts, your comments, chat us up, let us know what you have going on, or what you'd like to talk about. Of course, yesterday I had some recruiting news set up and was going to kick that to today, and still may get to that, but my show got hijacked a little bit. Uh, Forgot about the ESPY Awards, and so it was a big time presentation on yesterday, and so um, it was you know several things happening there. One, of course, the fourth and 31 was up for the award for the play of the year or best play. Uh, and it got beat out by the Lamar Jackson play. So, not exactly uh, who was making that pick. I, of course, would have went fourth and 31, but the Lamar Jackson throws a pass to himself was a pretty good play. And so we may show both of those in terms of letting you hear those plays kind of play out. Uh, but what I want to do this morning is actually I posted a poll question, Chase, um, and we won't answer it all today. And I encourage you to go back and respond to it. I actually posted two poll questions um, yesterday. One was late last night after the ESPY Awards, but one was asking about Kalen DeBoer and whether Kalen DeBoer, if he won multiple national titles, where would you rank him if he were to win three natties in 15 years, Chase? So that was a question. Where would you rank him if he won three natties in 15 years? Would you rank him number one, number two, number three, number four, or four? And so um so it's uh an interesting time there. Um and whether or not we can I mean, you can vote on that there. Apologize that guys, we're having a little technical difficulties, so I'm kind of working on the air and communicating with the producer at the same time. So if I seem a little shit, I am. But the other side of this is Nick Saban getting the Icon Award, and I want to play his interview. So I'm going to play it in its entirety. Uh, so we'll see if we're on. I don't want to play it unless our radio airwave listeners um, can hear it as well. So let me verify. Chase, can you verify that we are going out over the airwaves or not? And if we are, then I'll play it. If not, I'm going to transition to some different conversation because I think this Nick Saban speech is absolutely amazing. Um, uh, it is it encapsulates his entire career. I mean, it tells you who he is and how he did things and showed the human side of Nick Saban. And I think the timing of it is that we're going to be talking about and honoring his epic career overall, uh, at Alabama. Um, And then the next time we're back on the airway, it will be a new sheriff officially. And I say officially, and of course he still hadn't coached the game, but we have had one coach that came in and he didn't quite make it to the game. So all right, let me verify one more time that we are on the airwaves, on the local airwaves. So and then we will go from there. And while I'm doing that, if you have a question or comment or highlight that you'd like to talk about, you're welcome to post that in chat and let us know. I know the phone lines aren't working, so if you're trying to call in, I know that you can't get in that way. Here's a poll question. Here's a poll question that I was inspired to type because of Nick Saban getting the Icon Award. Which of these will never be duplicated? Talking about Saban's amazing stats at Alabama. Saban won 6 natties at Alabama. So the question becomes, will a coach ever win 6 national titles? Again, only 2 have gotten to that mark, but it has been done before, you know. But Saban stands alone at 7. But 2 guys have won 6. Coach Saban, Coach Bryant. So there we go. The 6 national titles have been duplicated before. 4 Heisman Trophy winners with one team. Is that even more amazing? Let that sink in for a second. He winning 6 national titles at Alabama was a duplication. Wasn't the first time. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So let that sink in for a second. It was not a first time. 6 national titles was a duplication of feat. 4 Heismans at Alabama by one coach, never done before. Matter of fact, I can remember growing up. I can remember when I was playing. I remember after I played. I can remember until about 2000, what was it, 9, 10, 11, whatever it was. You used to hear about Auburn had more now Alabama has 4. I mean, more Heisman's. Now Alabama has 4 of them. Will a coach duplicate that? Will another coach? I wonder if there is a coach. I didn't even check that. If there's ever been a coach anywhere to have 4 Heisman Trophy winners, because Nick Saban had 4 of them at Alabama. Then this one, because you hear those 2 and you think, Martin, those are going to be just really impossible. But will a coach long enough and be good enough to get 47 first rounders? Kirby's on his way. Kirby's outpacing Saban. But can he do it for another 10 years? Can he continue that pace for another 10 years? 47 first rounders. That's pretty impressive. What about this? This is a crazy one. This is, well, all these are crazy, but 15 consecutive years that Alabama was ranked number 1. 15 consecutive years where Alabama was ranked number 1. Wow. That the record was Miami. At some point in 15 consecutive years, the University of Alabama was ranked number one. The prior record held by Miami in their dynasty was 7 years. And Kirby is off to a good start. I think he's been number one, 3 years in a row? Maybe this would be 4, maybe 5. He only has 10 more to go to tie him. 15 consecutive years ranked number one. And there was other things that could have ran. I just ran 133 total draft picks. And that's just the stuff he did on the field. 133 draft picks. I heard in the speech he did today, listen to this number may be the one that's the least likely, and I did not know this until I listened to his acceptance speech. He said that at the University of Alabama, during his coaching career, that Alabama athletes under him, his football team, 668 degrees. That's an average of 39 degrees a year, which means that there's a lot of guys get grad and graduate degrees. Because you think a typical class, if all the typical, everybody graduates, that's 25 to 27. So there's a lot of duplicate, double, and maybe even triple degree guys in there. In this world that we're going into in college football, that may be a bigger deal than any of it. 668 degrees, that wasn't even one of the questions. 668 student athletes graduated from the University of Alabama. We're going to take a break here. I'm going to try to work through and see if we can figure out our technical difficulties. If we can't. I'm not going to play that Nick Saban audio without the on-air audience. So we're going to verify that. And if we can, we'll do it. If not, hey, this will be a great conversation. And I know some of you guys will probably hear it. So I may end up playing it. I don't know. Think about it in the break. But if I don't go there, I'll give you the comparison of the plays of the year, the best play of the year between Lamar Jackson, throws a pass to himself, and 4th and 31. We'll be back in just a moment to keep the conversation rolling right here on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, 12:30 a.m. WTBC. This is the Martin Houston Show. We appreciate you each and every morning from 6 to 7 a.m. right here on the Martin Houston Show Facebook page, live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and replaying on various outlets. We'll be back in just a moment. All right. Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. We are off the airways, but you know what? I decided I'm going to go ahead and play this Nick Saban acceptance speech. It is about let me see, 7-minute speech, and it's worth every single second of it. So this is my way of honoring the all time. I think that as we wrap up this Friday edition of the program, when we come back on Monday, Kalen DeBoer will be headed officially down to out to Dallas, Texas, as the head coach of the University of Alabama. Nick Saban will be covering it as part of the SEC media. He'll be a part of that. And so I feel like this is an appropriate time to honor the legendary coach, Nick Saban. And we're going to play this. So sit back and enjoy as two of Coach Saban's legendary Heismans, two of the four, introduce him and present him with the Icon Award. And when you finish with that, go back and look at that poll question at the Martin Houston Show on Facebook. 6 Natties, 4 Heismans, 47 first rounders, 15 consecutive years ranked number 1, 133 total draft picks, all records, every single one of them. Because that 6th national title gave him 7 total. But this was just what he did at Alabama. He has 52 first rounders in his coaching career, but he had 47 at Alabama. And then I threw in an extra stat for you, 668 degrees. 668 student athletes earned degrees in Nick Saban's 17 years. That's 39 and some change average per year. Whole lot of student athleting going on there. But here is your GOAT, your icon, the great Coach Nick Saban. And I think this speech wraps up who he is better than anything that I could say. Letting him talk to you this morning is as big an honor as I could give to Coach Saban. Listen to this message and learn, and maybe, just maybe, implement some of what he talked about in your daily life as well.
It's our honor to present the SB's Icon Award to Coach Nick Saban.
Thank you so much. It's an honor for me to have 2 of our former Heisman Trophy winners be here to present this award to me. And it's also, I'm very thankful for the other players, former players who played for us that are here tonight. We have a good group of guys here, enough that we could actually have practice after this show. But you know, we've always been blessed with having great individual athletes, but they've also been great people. And I think that's what contributed to our success. And when you talk about iconic players like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or Serena Williams, it was all because of what they did. It was their points. It was their wins. But when you talk about iconic coaches, it's all about how did you represent your team? How did your team represent you? Think about John Wooden and the success that he had for years. Coach Bryant, the success that he had. Don Staley, who's an icon coach in my mind for what she's been able to accomplish at Women's South Carolina. So I can attest to you what it takes to build a team. You have to have great players. and appreciate the way they compete. You have to have really good coaches who help develop the players. You have to have really good support personnel who sit the table so that the players can compete. You have to have great mentors, which I've had great mentors who taught me how I could teach players and how I could inspire learning in players so that they could actually be all that they could be. And you know, you have to have great support from your family. You know, Miss Terry's been the love of my life for 52 years, and she has supported me in every way as my family has. And I certainly appreciate that because there's a lot of sacrifices families make in coaching. We actually moved 17 times before we ever got to Alabama. 17 times. So I can only accept this award on behalf of all the other folks that contributed to it, which there's 1,000 of them. And every time I look at this, I'm going to see the faces of all the people who work so hard to help us be successful and the relationships that we're able and forged in those teams that made it so special. And it'll also be the thing that I miss most about coaching. There's a lot of athletes in this room. There's a lot of coaches in this room. There's nothing like being part of a team. That's what I'm going to miss. I've been part of a team since I was 9 years old. So with all this help and success, all I ever was the conductor of a process. And our process was to help every player be more successful in life because they were involved in the program. So number one, they had to respect the principles and values of the team, and they had to respect each other. And they had to be positive about how they went about their work and how they set a good example and could be somebody that their teammates could emulate. And they could be responsible for their own self-determination, which is accountability to do their job. And that they would work and persevere, which I've seen that word here, and have pride in performance to be the best that they could be so they could dominate the competition. But in college, I think the number one thing any player should do is make sure he develops a career for when he can't play. We had 668 degrees in 17 years at Alabama because of what these guys did in their commitment to developing a career off the field, which I'm very proud of. And the one thing my dad told me in West Virginia, the most part of your character is have compassion for other people. People aren't going to remember what you say, they're going to remember how you made them feel. And you know, we have a Knicks Kids Foundation, and it's about helping kids. And all of these guys that play on our team, every one of them, built a house, did community service, did something to help somebody else. And one of the most things that I'm most proud of is we have so many players now that have foundations of their own so they can help people in their community. You know, one thing that would help all of our spirit and all of our society is if we would just change one thing. Instead of coming up to somebody and saying, "How are you today?" why don't you say, "Who did you help today?" And if you can help someone every day, and that's what we've been talking about with perseverance, with the things that we've done for military folks, it's very important to us. So I really would like to thank ESPN for this honor and accept it on behalf of 1,000 people who contributed to the success that we've had. But I'd also like to say to everybody in this room, because a lot of great athletes, we have a responsibility and obligation because sports bring people together better than anything. You know, when we won the national championship in 2003 at LSU, I had Jesse Jackson came in and speak to the team. And he said to me, he said, "Your team on a Saturday night in Tiger Stadium is closer to the kingdom of God than my church." I said, "Jesse, you ever been in LSU Stadium on a Saturday night? You can smell the bourbon on the 50-yard line." And he said, "No." He said, "Everybody has the same goal. The rules are clearly defined, and everybody's together in spirit." So we all have a responsibility and obligation to bring people together because our platform in sports can do that for so many folks. So help someone, bring people together. God bless you, and thank you very much.
Wow. Wow. That's all I can say. What a great speech. Several things in that, like I said, I think without a doubt, speak to so much of the dominance that we enjoyed on the field under Coach Nick Saban. Just an absolute pleasure and joy to have experienced 17 years of dominance. And with that speech, I think it's a fitting end to the dominant career that he's in. Coach looking good though, man. I mean, look like he's, trimmed up, slimmed up, and ready to go into it again. But he's taking a little different. He's playing a lot of golf right now. I think he's getting that tan on. But coming back on the other side, I want to talk about some of the things that he talked about in that video. And if you missed it, oh man, I hate it. But you can always go back to my page and watch it in its entirety and catch all of the conversation around it. But it is absolutely amazing the things that he hit. And I think it's going to be getting those things in and from today's college athlete. If a coach can figure out how to get all of that, they will have a dominant run. They will do the same thing that Nick Saban did in a lot of ways. If they can get part of it, they will have a hand up or a head start on all of their coaching competition. If they can do that. If they can be what he called the conductor of a process, that's the way he defined himself in his great coaching career. That's going to stick. The conductor of a process led to, let me read those stats at Alabama once again. The conductor of a process led Coach Nick Saban to be able to hoist six national titles, coach 4 Heisman Trophy winners, produce 47 first rounders, lead his team to 15 consecutive years where he was ranked at number 1, 133 total draft picks, 668 college degrees. And I don't even know what the final number was, but at one point, Alabama had been at number 1 at some point 128 times. These would be staggering numbers for the majority of college football programs in their history. And this was just one man's legacy. Coach Nick Saban, we call you the GOAT. ESPN SB called you the icon, and I couldn't agree more. We'll be back on the other side to keep it rolling to kick off the second half. Stay tuned for more conversation around Coach Nick Saban and the SB Award. Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. We're doing a all-out live streaming edition of the program. I've gotten a couple notes from those who listen over the airwaves, on the radio airwaves, that they can't get, they're not getting anything, and apologize to them, but thank you all for tuning in on the Facebook Live, a full show going on here, making a little bit of an adjustment as we go on the fly. But hey, listen, that's what it's all about, being able to call an audible when we need to call one. Hopefully we'll get things fixed on the airways, but thank you so much for tuning right here on the live stream side of things. And I want to thank Taco Casa Quality, Taste, and Value on the biggest cactus in town. They help us keep things rolling right here on your home for Alabama sports. Taco Casa, they've been doing it the right way every day since 1964. 74 years. I tried to give them an extra 10. I don't think they need it when you've been doing the same thing the right way, quality since 1974. You really don't need any help. So kudos to them. Glad that they've been a part of what we've been doing right here on the Martin Houston Show. So go visit them for lunch and or dinner. They will take care of you. They have 6 locations in Tuscaloosa, one up in Birmingham off of Lakeshore Drive. So either way, they will make sure that you're taken care of as Taco Casa, tacocasa.com, quality, taste, and value. All right. Thanks so much, guys. I hope you had a chance to enjoy the Nick Saban speech there. I mean, to me, I was just I was blown away by it. I've always respected, believe that without a doubt, he is one of the greatest leaders to ever lead any organization, not just football. I think Nick Saban would be a Fortune 500 guy if that's where he decided to stake his, but he chose to do it away. And I've always said that Nick Saban is his dad on steroids. I think his dad put a lot of this into him at an early age. And he literally said that the thing that he felt was compassion for others, that was one of the greatest signs of character that a person could have. And he talked about Nick's kids, and I know there's 18 families I know in Tuscaloosa since 2011 that have a home, and I'm sure there's even more. But I know they built at least one house for every national title, and I'm sure they did others. And they taught those players how to do that same thing. Nick Saban talked about being the conductor of a process. Conductor of a process. He talked about, having to have mentors, and which, if you're going to have a mentor, that means you're submitting yourself to someone else's leadership and guidance. And he talked about doing that, starting with his dad. He talked about having the support staff and all of those people. So, Nick Saban, he built that organization, the conductor of the process, as he called it. But there was a lot of good people in a lot of good positions that through the years made Alabama the great program that it is. And I was blown away. He said, family. No wonder everybody, when he came to Tuscaloosa, everybody said, if y'all get him for 5 years, that'll be good. And I would say the reason people said that was because he said they moved 17 times before coming to Tuscaloosa. So thank you, Miss Terry, and to all of the children and family that came to Tuscaloosa and made Tuscaloosa home. So thank you. But here's a question I have for you guys that's out there listening. Do you think that you're going to ever see these things be able to be taught in abundance in a college program unless they make some changes. Listen to this. I mean, this is society changing stuff. Of course, I think the greatest way to change our society is through our Christian faith. But I think a Christian faith should be undergirded and exemplified through all of these characteristics. So Nick Saban talked about being a conductor of the process. He taught his players to be respectful of each other and the team, to be a positive approach to your work. Any of y'all work with those people? I call them sponges. Anybody work with any sponges? I mean, where you get out there and they literally, if they walk up to you, they drain you. They suck the life out of you. He didn't want those type of people in there. So if you get rid of that, and then he says, be an example that others would want to emulate. Be responsible for your own actions. Be accountable to yourself first, but to your team and to your leaders and to those who follow. Work hard. Persevere. I love this. This is one of my favorite terms, having been in the insurance business. They have something in the insurance business called pride of ownership when they're writing an insurance policy. And so they'll look at the outside of your home and your manicure, your lawn, and all that stuff, and it could cause your rates to go up because they say they don't have pride of ownership. And if you don't have pride of ownership, you'll let the house burn down. You won't take care of it. You're more likely to have maintenance issues. You're more likely to have things that go wrong that can cause an insurance claim. Well, same thought process and pride of performance. Nick Saban talked about that pride of performance. And for 17 years, 16 years and some change. Because when he came here, maybe they didn't have that. That's why Alabama was 7-6 his first 13 games. Let this sink in. Nick Saban lost 29 games in 17 years at Alabama. I think it was 29 games. And that may have been with the 5. let me see if I can check that. That may have been with the 5. I can't. I'm doing too many. I think it was 29 losses and I think that may include the 5 that he had to vacate. But if it doesn't, either way, he had 29 to 36. 34 losses, somewhere in that range. Let this sink in. Either 20% of his losses happened in year 1, and the other 80% was spread out over 16 years. 1/5. Or if it's 29, I mean, he lost 5 games in it. He lost the 7 his first year and then lost 22 the rest of the time. Let that sink in. That's pride and performance. And I remember when that happened, when he had to suspend those players and La Monroe. Have you guys ever heard the La Monroe story? Nick Saban tells, I'll share it real quick. Nick Saban, after the La Monroe, and I'm abbreviating it, after the La Monroe loss, and of course, remember Alabama had all the guys suspended for various reasons, and they lose to La Monroe. And Coach Saban goes, I don't know where he was at, that he was pumping his own gas. He goes into the gas station, and the guy sees and Nick Saban still had his LSU ring on at that time. And he sees the ring and asks him, what is that? And he told me it's an LSU national championship ring. And Nick Saban and the guy looks and says, well, Alabama won't ever win one of those as long as Nick Saban's the coach. That Saban guy's a coach. Talking to coach. So pretty hilarious story. Needless to say, that was a low watermark. But because I think from that point on, Nick Saban had a group of guys who brought into his program completely and began to execute. One of the other interesting things I remember when Nick Saban first got here, he talked about dominating your opponent. And do you all remember teams used to lose games when Alabama got off the bus? I remember when that mindset became so dominant and so prevalent that nobody stood a chance against us as a whole. Nick Saban has more wins against number one teams as a coach probably than all other universities have against number one teams. I think he has 8 or 9 wins against number one teams. He knows what he's talking about when he says dominate your opponent. But I remember when Clemson beat us, and all of a sudden that mindset changed a little bit. And I think we lost a little bit of that down the stretch of the Nick Saban era. You didn't feel that same level of dominance. And some of that, a lot of teams still felt it. But the teams who were competing for national titles no longer felt that way. And then, of course, NIL comes along, and, you know, it probably nullified this as much as anything. One of his things was develop a game, post-football career, build value for yourself through your 4-year experience at 3-4 year, 5-year experience in college. Well, that went away when guys started getting $250,000 up front and no longer working at it. But he still pushed that and wanted that for his players as one of his top things. And then I wrap up with, I loved his analysis of, hey, let's stop asking people, how are you, but who have you helped? Sow seeds instead of trying to get the harvest or trying to get them a harvest. How about sowing seeds that produce a harvest in someone else's life? And I close with the story he talked about, the Jesse Jackson story. What a great story it was. And I have said that so many times, but there is nothing like sports to unite us or divide us, but unite us when we get on the right team. And Jesse Jackson saying that there's nothing as unifying about our society than a football stadium on a Saturday night. I even talked about LSU, and I'm not going to go into the specifics of it, but as I wrap up this segment and get ready to prepare to close out, I want to tell you, I so love that they were on a common goal, rules were laid out, and they were of the same spirit. And that's what our faith does. Faith walk should do for us. And if it's not, challenge those who call themselves Christians to walk in that. Coming back on the other side, we'll put the finishing touches on this edition of the Martin Houston Show. Things kind of went a little different this morning. Not able to interact with all of our listening, viewing audience, but able to interact with you this morning. Glad that you've chosen to be with us. As we move into the final segment, I want to encourage you to consider supporting the program, and you can support the program by listening each and every day. You can support it by choosing to become a sponsor or telling a family and friend about listening, viewing, supporting, or becoming a sponsor. If you have any questions or if they have any questions about what we have available, I'll start listing some of those as we move forward. But if you want to get involved or partner or ask any questions or want any information, just email me, martin@martinhouston.org. Coming back on the other side, we'll have our 2-minute warning. All right, welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. We're glad to have you with us as we wrap up this edition of the Martin Houston Show. Want to tell you, start looking out for the legacy swag is coming. I'll have a link where you'll be able to order it. Hope to have a few more supporting pieces than at the beginning of the week, but know that the rollout is imminent, and the only place you can get the legacy gear will be based on that link that I will share. And so I appreciate your support there as well. Also, if you're looking to support the Martin Houston Show and you like the swag, get your coffee mug if you're a coffee person. Hopefully, I can wake you up a little bit in the morning, but if you love that coffee, get your Martin Houston mug as well. Not mug shot, but mug uh, from the Martin Houston Show. Anyway, as we wrap up this edition of the program, thank you all so much for being with us. Just a couple of poll questions that I have out there. Not going to give final results, but if you would, at some point today, go out and vote for these two poll questions. The number one question that we'll probably talk about a little bit on Monday is regarding Nick Saban and his amazing stats at Alabama. And that is that he won 6 natties, 44 Heisman trophies, had 4 Heisman Trophy winners, 47 first rounders, 15 consecutive years ranked, and 133 total draft picks. That's what the poll shows. Which one of those will never be duplicated? Would never be duplicated again. All right. So get your votes there, and you go to facebook.com/The Martin Houston Show. The title of the page is Alabama Sports and The Martin Houston Show. Poll question that we're going to talk about just for the next few minutes or so is, where would you rank Kalen DeBoer amongst Alabama coaches in Bama history if he wins 3 natties in 15 years? So if Coach DeBoer were to somehow win 3 national titles in 15 years in this new era of football, where would you rank him? Would you rank him number 1? Would 3 in this new crazy era of college football be on par with 6? Would he number 2? Was it easier to win them in Coach Bryant's era or in Coach Saban's era? Some people say it was easier to win them in Coach Bryant's era because he didn't have to play it out on the field and didn't have to always play against a top team. Other people say that had he got to play it out on the field, maybe he wins more, because he had to wait on the vote of others, and people hated the South and people hated Alabama, and so he got overlooked for a couple. That may be true. So was that era harder? And then you look at Nick Saban's era, where they went from the polls to the BCS to CFP. People said that was harder because you had to win it on the field. You had the poll element that you had to depend on just to get there. And that wasn't a problem for Nick Saban. Remember, 15 consecutive years at some point. Let that book in. His first year and his last year at Alabama were the only 2 years that at some point we were not the number 1 team. And the record before that was 7. He more than doubled the greatest dynasty in terms of that statistic. Then he had 130, 40 times that we were number 1 under his reign. Go check out the next closest college to that. Okay. So with that said, that brings us to the third era that we're talking about, and that is Kalen DeBoer. Where would he rank? Where would you rank him if he gets that 3rd title? because he's in a whole new world. I mean, NIL, transfer portal, college football playoffs. Those three things are the biggest, potentially three biggest changes in the last 100 years. College football playoffs, transfer portal, unlimited transfer, unlimited. I have zero problem with the transfer portal, one get out of jail free card, but to make it unlimited, if you go back to one, that'll change a lot of this stuff. Because now I'm going to think twice before I leave, at least twice, maybe more than that. But Kalen DeBoer is having to recruit, roster management, and recruit again, and roster management, and recruit again, and roster management. He may have to recruit the same guy 3 times. I'm sorry, 4. Get him here, keep him here, get him here. I mean, keep him here, get him here, keep him here, you get it. Then if college football playoffs, if he gets there, 17 games, potentially. 16 to 17 games for the national title. Whew. That's a lot. So would 3 be there? Would you have him at number 4? I don't think there's any way you could have him at number 4. But we do have one vote that someone said that they would make him, if he won 3 titles, a guy named John Moore said he would put him at number 4. I would like to know the 2 guys in front of him, the 3 guys in front of him. And I hope no one would say that if he won 3, that you'd have him lower than 4. I'd like to know, where would you have him? Where would you have Kalen DeBoer if he won 3 national titles? Let me see. Somebody have him at number 1. Wow. Let me see who that is. Louis Simon says that if Kevin DeBoer wins 3 national titles in this new era, he would be number 1. He put him above Saban. I wonder if he's giving him credit for having to come in after the GOAT, right? That's both positive and negative. Replacing Saban is a positive and a negative in a sense of a dynasty. First of all, he's going to be compared to him. Second of all, the expectations are extremely high, through the roof. We're already talking national title, right? But the other side of that is, according to some statistics, he has the best, most talented roster in the country. And then he's recruiting and adding to it. So I guess that's a possibility. And then there's a couple people, only a couple people, Thomas T-Man Smith and Bill Lebenowitz. They said they'd have him number 2. I wonder which one. I wonder, do they have him in front of Bear or in front of Saban? Who do they have as number 1? Maybe that's what I need to do. Do a ranking of the Alabama coaches before Kalen DeBoer gets in the mix. Rank your top 4 Alabama coaches of all time. That'd be a fun, right? The majority of those who have voted have said that they would have him at number 3, which makes the most logical sense. So either way, Kalen DeBoer, the official crowning, unofficial crowning, official crowning is Monday. And of course, he speaks on Wednesday at SEC Media Days. As we get ready to get out of here on this Friday edition of the program, I want to thank all of you for tuning in on the air, on the Facebook side of things, the live stream side of things. Appreciate all your support. Appreciate all the callers, listeners, viewers, and chatters for being a part of the program. Didn't have as much interaction as we normally do, but glad you guys were out there listening and being a part of the show. You're always welcome to communicate via chat, via messenger, anything that you like for me to highlight and talk. When we come back on Monday, we're going to highlight and talk about the SEC Media Days. We're going to add Kennington Smith III to the conversation and get his thoughts and comments there as well. We'll hopefully get a little recruiting news in as we keep that conversation rolling. And you know what I didn't do? I didn't show you that 4th and 31 versus Lamar Jackson uh, play. Go check it out on social media. It's out there. But remember this: trust in the Lord always. Lean not your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Roll Tide out there, everybody. We'll catch you on Monday as we keep things rolling right here on your home for Alabama sports. Always be on the lookout for things that happen on the live stream and on the social media accounts. Might just do some special things out there surrounding SEC Media Days. We appreciate you. Roll Tide, and we'll catch you on Monday. Thanks for being a part of the program.